So we're going to do 2D. So this is AFDA Unit 2D. And what we're going to be doing is writing the equation of a line given information. So if you remember from the last video, there were 3 pieces of information that we used. There was slope, x-intercept, and a y-intercept. So the only other piece of information that we're going to use when we draw or when we write the equation of a line is if they give us a specific point or a specific coordinate, as it were. So those are the pieces of information that we're going to use. There are 2 ways that we can write an equation. There's what we call the slope-intercept form. And of course, that slope-intercept form will be using the slope and an intercept to write the equation. And the point slope. And again there, we'll be using 1 point and the slope to write the equation of a line. So starting off, so this is the slope-intercept equation. The slope-intercept equation is just y equal to mx plus b. All right, so m, like we saw, is slope. And b is just going to be our y-intercept. Okay, so if we're given, as an example, find the equation of a line where slope is 3/4 and a y-intercept where the coordinate is 0, -4, we take our slope, we'll say y is equal to our slope, which is 3/4, put our x there, plus, now our y-intercept, it intersects the graph at -4, our x-coordinates at 0, so at -4, so we'll just have our -4 there. And we can rewrite that because these two make a negative. Sorry about that. So we can rewrite it because these 2 signs do make a minus sign. But other than that, that's essentially what we're going to do. The way it gets more complicated is that we begin to throw it on a graph. So here we have a line. What's on our graph? We have our x-axis and our y-axis. So what we're going to do is write the equation of this line given the graph. So the first thing we want to do is look at the y-intercept. So the y-intercept, if I find out again where it crosses the y-axis, 1, 2, 3. So I am at coordinate 0, -3, okay? And what I'm going to do too is to figure out my slope. So when I figure out my slope, what I want to do is find a point that I can do precisely. So let's say I chose this point right here. And let me zoom in for you a little bit. So let's say I chose this point right here, right in the middle of this box. Now I can sit here and I can estimate what this is. This is a half value between these 2 numbers maybe, or a third of the way up. What's better for me to do is actually pick a point where the lines cross at. So I know they cross here, and let's use this one right here. I know exactly this line crosses right here. So the other point that I'm going to use is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 in my x, and 1, 2, 3, 3 in my y. So now I have 2 points. So now I have 2 points, 6, 3, and 0, -3. And I'm going to use these to find my slope. So my slope is going to be, again, the change in my x's and the change in my y's. So I have -3 minus 3, 0 minus 6. So up top, that gives me a -6. On the bottom, it gives me a -6. So my slope is equal to 1. And again, don't forget I have my y-intercept over here of -3. So now I have the information I need to put something into slope-intercept form. Y is equal to my slope, which is 1, plus my intercept, which is -3. And again, y equals mx plus b. So I don't need to write this 1, so x minus 3. And that's the equation of my line. So the other thing we're going to look at is point slope. And again, the point slope form. Again, we're looking at something with a point and something with a slope, and we're going to use that to write our equation. So the form y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1. And again, the points we're going to use, x1 and y1, are going to be given to us or come from the graph. And the same thing for our slope m. It'll either be given to us or come from our graph. So let's take an example where we're given the information. We have the point 1, 2 and a slope of 2/3. So we will use this information to write our equation down of our line. So we'll have y minus, our y coordinate is 2, is equal to slope, 2/3, x minus, and x1 is just 1. So again, we'll just plug in y minus y1, which is 2, equals the slope, which is 2/3, times x minus x1. That's just x. And most times what we'll do is we'll simplify this. So we'll go through and do the algebra. So I distributed the 2/3. And I'm going to leave it like that for right now. Just because, again, well, let me go ahead and do it. Like we always talked about, I'm going to convert this into a decimal. I like them better. 0.66x minus 0.66. And I'm going to add 2 to both sides. Sorry about that, I had to pause. So what we'll get when we add this up is we'll get y is equal to y is going to be equal to 0.66x plus 1.34. And that will be the equation of our line. All right, so now we're going to take a picture of a graph and we're going to write the equation of that line from the graph in point slope form. And so what we'll do is we'll have our first point, which is right here, -3 and +7. All right, and I have to figure out the slope. So like I said before, when I want to figure out the slope from a graph, what I don't want to do is to pick some point. And let me zoom in for you. What I don't want to do is pick a point where I'm in the middle of this box, where I'm not really a definite on a line or a definite value. So what I want to do, is to go to some place like here that I know, or even ideally someplace like here that crosses an axis, because I know one of my coordinates is going to be 0. So if I look at this coordinate, x is 0, y is positive 1, and we're going to take our 2 points and find the slope. So our slope m is going to be 7 minus 1. 7 is our y coordinate, y is our x. 7 is a y and 1 is a y. And then negative 3 minus 0. So that'll be 6 over negative 3, which will give us a negative 2. That's our slope. And we already know one of our coordinates, x1, y1, will be negative 3 comma 7. So what we'll do, remember our form is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And we'll just plug in. Our slope is 2. Our x1 is negative 3. And our y1 is 7. Let's go through and do a little bit of simplification. Distribute 2x plus 6. Add 7 to both sides. So y is going to be equal to 2x plus 13.